Hello, and welcome to another edition of A Successful Transition from Monogamy to Open. This week we've been talking about emotional intelligence, and we've talked about, working on being more skilled at your self-awareness, which is the beginning, foundation of all of this, and then your self-management. And now, once you get to that point and you've gotten those under better control, you're able to move into the last two steps, which are social awareness and then relationship management. And if emotions are difficult for you to manage, I really urge you to make sure that before you try to jump to relationship management, which is where a lot of people want to go, they're like, oh, that's what I need. I need relationship management, so I'm going to just jump to that. No, you need to make sure you built this foundation first. Because all of these skills build upon each other. And you're not going to be able to just jump into relationship management if you haven't done the self-awareness, the self-management, and the social awareness. So social awareness, think about, have you ever had someone come up to you and without saying a word, they realized that you're in a bad mood and they just seem to know what to say and how to handle the situation? This is somebody who is skilled at social awareness. So it's a really wonderful skill to have, to be able to pick up those subtle cues from other people. And if you've ever been around somebody who doesn't pick up those social cues, you know how difficult that can be to deal with them. So once you've learned this, it makes dealing with others so much easier. So the social awareness is that ability to recognize and understand other people's emotions and what they're going through. And it helps you tune in better and help you to interact with them more effectively. Now, to build this skill, you're going to find yourself observing people in all kinds of situations, and you're going to learn how to pick up on things like body language, facial expressions, posture, tone of voice, and even those things that are hidden below the surface, like deep emotions and thoughts. So to do this, first of all, you've got to be fully present. It's very difficult to be aware of the social cues if you're too much in your head and you're not giving the people around you your full attention. It's more than just being aware of what you're seeing with your eyes. It really means tapping into all of your senses, as well as tapping into that sixth sense of your own emotions. And your own emotions, the more aware you are of your own, will help you to tap in and notice and interpret cues from other people. So let's talk about the 5 top strategies for helping you have better social awareness. The first one is to watch body language. Now, you learn a great deal from people by their body language. So check their posture, their eye movements, their hand gestures, their facial expressions. Get a complete read on a person. So start from doing a head-to-toe body language assessment. Start with the face and the head. Now, the eyes are going to communicate more than any other part of the human anatomy. You get a lot of information from people's eyes. So, but don't just stare at them. Don't be just like, no, you just, glance, notice their eyes and notice what you see. Notice whether a person can maintain a comfortable eye contact with you. Comfortable eye contact is a sign of trustworthiness. It's a sign of sincerity, caring, and that the person is comfortable. And a lack of eye contact, or people who are blinking frequently, it can be a sign of deception. It can be a sign of discomfort. It can also be a sign of somebody with a history of a lot of trauma and abuse in their past. People who've been very abused as children often have difficulty with eye contact because they don't always know how to read people, because the people early in their lives gave them such conflicting messages, and it was often bad for them. So it may not necessarily be trustworthiness. It might be a sign that somebody has had a traumatic or abusive childhood. Notice a person's smile. A person with a very authentic smile versus a forced smile can be noticeable. Now, if there's a crinkle around the eye when they smile, that is generally a sign of a more authentic smile versus a forced smile. Now, of course, if they use a lot of Botox, there may not be as much of a crinkle around the eye, and so it may not necessarily be that. These days, that can change things. So once you finish with the face, you want to go down to the rest of the body, the shoulders, the torso, the arms, the legs. How relaxed and calm are they? Are they fidgety? Are they moving? Are they moving their hands out? Are they tapping their feet? That's a sign that something's not quite right. The second thing you want to do is you want to clear away the clutter. To be socially aware, you've got to be fully present and remove your own distractions from your brain. We all have so much going on in our lives these days, and it's sometimes difficult to get out of our own heads and really get rid of the internal chaos that's going on for us and our own thoughts and what we're thinking about. And yet, when you're in a conversation with someone, you've got to really be focused on them. You got to be focused on and not interrupt them. We have this tendency, we want to interrupt people. Get to the point. Let them finish. Really listen to what they're saying. And we have this tendency to want to think about our own response to what somebody's saying before they've even finished. So you've got to learn to squelch that impulse to want to plan your response. If you don't really listen to them, your response may not even be accurate to what they're saying. So let them finish. Let them say what they're going to say before you think about what you're going to say. After all, it's more about having that connection with the person than some great insight that you're supposedly need to come up with. The third one is to really live in the moment. Now, children are very skilled at living with the moment. They don't have to learn this. All they think about is the present moment. They're not thinking about the past. They're not worrying about the future. And unlike adults, we are very stressed out about what might happen in the future. Are we going to be able to handle certain things? Or we're worried about the past, things we've done or should have done. And we're often so either in the past or in the future that we're not really in the present moment. And that makes it difficult to really have good social awareness with the people that you're talking to. So if it helps, if you're finding yourself having a hard time to stay in the present, do some grounding exercises. And by grounding exercises, I mean that's a way of focusing on what is happening to you right at this moment. Use all of your senses. What do you see in front of you? What colors do you see? What are the shapes of the objects in front of you? What do you hear? What do you smell? What do you feel? What do you taste? That's going to help ground you into that moment, because then you're very present. You're not thinking about the past or the future if you're very grounded. And that can help if you really struggle with staying in the present moment. Number 4 is practice the art of listening. Now, this may seem kind of very basic, yet we're really losing ground in our society when it comes to actually listening to people. If you remember the telephone game from when you were a child, most adults are going to fail miserably at the telephone game these days because we really don't listen well enough that if we had to pass on this information through several people, by the end, it would so not be what it started with. And that creates a lot of problems and definitely does not make you nearly as socially aware. So think about it when you are having a conversation with someone. Are you also, make sure you mute your phone. Don't be trying to reply to text messages or checking to see what emails are coming through your phone. No, talk to them. Spend the time to talk to that person. Look at them. If you're doing something in the moment, your email can wait. Take your face out of the computer and look at the person and talk to them. That's going to really help you a lot with your social awareness. And number 5 is understand the rules of the culture game. Now, other cultures are more than just the people from other states and other countries. So that's certainly very important these days to be aware of other cultures and that they may interact differently than what you do in your culture. But especially when you're dealing with open relationships are their own little cultures. And people in the swinging lifestyle have a very different culture than the people in the polyamory world or the people who are in very unique designer relationships. So it's important to really understand enough about those cultures so that you can interact with people appropriately. Um, and it's understanding how the people from that culture want to be treated, not just how you think you want to be treated. So this can be very challenging. If you think about some of the lifestyle issues, it can be hard if you're new to pick up on the cues when you're watching people. Because if you take the swinging lifestyle, for example, and you're at a club and you see somebody walk up and, well, grab somebody else's ass, that might be very appropriate for them because they've known each other for years. They have a very close relationship. It's not necessarily appropriate to do that to just anybody you know or anybody you're meeting, or maybe you don't have that close of a relationship. And just because you've played with someone previously doesn't necessarily mean you still have the close enough relationship to be that intimate with somebody all the time. So you have to look at those cues very carefully. So that's it for social awareness for today. Tomorrow we're going to wrap up with relationship management, the final piece of emotional intelligence, and then we're going to talk about what we're going to focus on for the next couple of weeks. And I've been thinking a lot about that and what we need to do is the next step, and so I will announce that tomorrow. So have a great night, and I will see everyone on Friday. Thanks for joining me.